Why is there such a strong culture of competition between girls in a country like Belarus? So there's quite a few reasons. One is just a general cultural pedestalization of female beauty. This is seen as an important thing. It's almost like a moral thing. There's excesses of things like lingerie shops, and there's a lot of romance here. There's a lot of flower shops and this kind of stuff. There's definitely a cultural glorification of women's beauty, and this is taken very, very seriously by everybody involved, both men and women. Now, some of the deeper social causes here. What I'll do, I'll just turn the camera around so you can see what I can see. So, two deeper social reasons, and they're both quite tragic as to why women here in Belarus do compete so hard. One is the early communist era. So the early communist era, the early 20th century, the communists were all about pulling apart traditions, so destroying Christianity, destroying family. And of course, when you destroy traditions, traditional societies always limited competition by men and women. They didn't want this competition in the sexual marketplace. They didn't want the wasting of time and resources and triggering these kind of primal instincts in us. So one of the first things that the Soviets did was try and pull apart that family unit, pull apart traditions. And of course, what this did was create a free and open marketplace where people started to compete. Now, on the women's side, women were competing in terms of beauty, femininity, grace, etc., etc. On the men's side, they couldn't really compete quite so well because under communism, no one has money unless you're in the Communist Party, right? So only a very small number of guys had any money, and no one else could do anything about it. Everyone else had to work for not even a survival wage in a lot of cases. So this made a very small number of men desirable. So women had to compete really, really hard. And that's kind of a bit of a story behind here, Russia, and the Ukraine as well. Now, if we move on a little bit to World War II, and this is really tragic, just the amount of men that died, Belarusian men who died in World War II. My understanding is that somewhere around more than half of Belarusian men died in World War II, which is, apart from just the incredibly distressing and horrible nature of this, what it does to a dating market is quite incredible, because all of a sudden you got more than 2 women to every man. So this is going to spur on incredible levels of competition. And now you think about the men that are left. I mean, you know, if you're a man and you've just been at war for maybe even just a few months, but often a few years, you're not going to be all right. You know, you're going to have a lot of emotional problems, trauma. Drinking is a big thing in this part of the world, especially Belarus is known for it. And then this creeps into the culture. So you might have people drinking to kind of avoid reality, and this becomes like a cultural thing. Oh, men just drink a lot, and they're just pissed at 10 in the morning kind of thing on a Thursday, right? So you've got many, many less men, and the men who are around have a lot of trauma and a lot of problems. So they probably survived the war. So what women had to do was compete like crazy, and this is really one of the key factors in why women compete so hard here in Belarus. Now, of course, things have changed, right? Things have changed. Men were born, and now the gender ratios are again fairly even or close enough to it. But of course, culture's very, very sticky. Culture's very sticky. So this is now embraced as part of the culture, even though women don't need to compete quite so hard now, because the younger guys are all right. The younger guys are pretty decent. The older guys, generally just say the over 50s, the ones that are alive, because once they get to about 55, they just start dying, the men. I'm pretty sure it's for every 2 women over 55, there's only 1 man, because he's dead from whatever, bad diet, bad lifestyle choices, whatever it is. But for people in kind of the fertile age ranges, things are pretty 50-50. There's no real need for women to compete like this, but now it's cultural. Now it's kind of embedded into the culture here, and look, things are changing a little bit, I think, but not much, because of course this same kind of ideological changes around the world are being engineered everywhere, including Belarus, but Belarus is still pretty close and it's pretty stubborn, and although there is a little bit of change here, not that much. Women are still looking very similar to their mothers, still maintaining this classic feminine look. Yeah, they'll copy a little bit of Western styles here and there, some grungier Western styles, like the big boots were just in fashion the last few months. But overall, women here are keeping this kind of cultural aspect, this kind of accidental cultural aspect that occurred again through communism and through the war. So many men dying in World War II, and they've kind of kept onto it. And it's interesting how sticky it is.